It is October 13th, 2025. We're going to talk about war, robots, and the InfoWars. This is Inverted World Live. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. We are so glad you are here with us now on this Monday night. This is Inverted World Live, and I'm your host, Shane Cashman. We're going to go to callers in maybe 40 or so minutes. If you have a strange story you'd like to share with us, we would love to hear it. I am, of course, joined by the great Brandon.
Shane, what's up?
Chilling,
Guys,
dude.
what's up? Welcome back. We are ready for another weird week here at Inverted World. Let's get into it.
It gets more inverted by the day. I'm sure you guys are noticing it. It is getting crazier and crazier, and I am very excited to have our guest today who is going to be able to tap into just how inverted this world is. He's awesome, and I'm stoked to have him here today. Let's bring on Rex Jones, everybody. Rex, very welcome to the show, sir. Thanks for being here. Who is going to be able to tap into just how inverted this world is. Can you hear us?
Is that happening? Is that coming from his side?
Hey, let's bring on Rex.
Rex, you don't have the show on over there, do you?
Can you hear us, Rex?
Do I have y'all double playing? Is that what's going on? I don't think so. Oh, wow.
Into just how inverted. Look at that's how
I was like, I thought I covered that.
That's how inverted it is. Since this is a recent development, there are now two of me, and my clone is broadcasting from another apartment.
That was crazy. Dude. I was like, I swear I triple checked to make sure that I wasn't double audio.
That's on me,
bro. All good, dude. You should see the things we've had to do in this room with wild stuff.
Awesome.
Rex, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thanks for having me on, man. I've really enjoyed your Twitter since being back on X, and I got to say it's an honor to be on the show. Thank you guys for having me.
That means a lot, man. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. You are the co-host of The Gray Area. I love the title of that show. Tell us why you started it, why you're back on the scene. You got a lot to talk about. So let everyone know what you're doing with The Gray Area.
For sure. So, growing up in InfoWars, I started really being employed as a reporter when I was around 13 years old, and I had a couple of years of experience prior to that. But, being 17, 18 years old during the pandemic, during the great, 2020 age, I took a step back from all of it because it was incredibly disappointing. I'd become disillusioned with Trump. I had started to have viewpoints that were really clashing with my dad's, and I just wanted to take a step back and actually, do something independent outside of InfoWars so I could kind of build credibility that I could stand on myself and go, hey, I want to do media. I want to be involved. I've always wanted to do this, but you need to have some sort of background or career first. So I took my other decade of experience in nutritional supplements since before the age of 10. I've been working on that stuff, and I started a company. So I'm into supplement white labeling. I'm into warehousing and manufacture. I kind of do it all. So after like 3-4 years of that, I figured it was time to get back online. Yeah. And my co-host, Tim Tompkins, he's a great guy. We met kind of in a business setting. He's a mechanical engineer. He's worked for defense companies, biotech companies, you name it. And we started striking up conversations about these things. And I was like, well, let's just do a show, man. Like, it's time. So we started doing The Gray Area. And on The Gray Area, we do current events. We, shoot the stuff with our viewers, with our listeners. But at the same time, what we're trying to do is bring up real elevated and elongated timelines so that we can track these events and changes in society and see how things actually happen over a broad period of time.
Yeah. So you were you said you were 18 during the lockdowns?
Yeah, I was a graduating class of 2020. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
So that warped your entire perception of life. Like, were you having grown up the way you did that were you expecting something like this, or was that a shock?
I mean, it just seemed like everything Alex had ever prophesized, right. Everything he'd ever said came true that year. And I was like, wow, maybe Alex Jones is always right.
Yeah.
Limited. But, driving down the highway, at least here in Texas, we didn't have the crazy mask mandates. We didn't have, the authoritarian rule that my co-host Tim kind of lived under being up north in like Connecticut and New York. But it was definitely a time period where I realized, even though I'd always known that things were correct, I was like, wow, this is what they really want for people.
Yeah.
This is what they want. And this is the future that's desired. It's a future where you don't talk to each other, where you wear the mask in the car, everyone's terrified. And of course, while that's all happening, they surge the border, bring millions, tens of millions of people in. It's all perfect and by design. And, I've had a lot of beefs and disagreements with Trump. I really don't like the current administration, but you have to say from the Biden years, it is very nice relatively.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I'm not the happiest with a lot of stuff going on right now. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, there's two major ones, and I'm thinking about, first we can get into what was going on today with the peace deal and you know, all that stuff. You know, what's your take on that? Was the war and before Rex, sorry, really quick, we just had a lot of people join us from IRL. Thank you guys for being here. We are on now with Rex Jones. We're talking about him starting his new podcast, The Gray Area, and just now to get into everyone's favorite topic, Israel. So we got this peace deal today. And a lot of stuff was said. You know, we saw this speech from Trump talking about pardoning a war criminal. What are you thinking about all this?
Man, you know, it's great that the hostages are released, both the Gaza hostages that were being held in prison and, of course, the Israeli hostages being held in Gaza. It's great on both sides to see that kind of come to an end, and I rejoice in that. It's a good thing ultimately. But to see people kind of wipe the slate clean and go, oh, look, it's over. You know, after 2 years, it's over. So it doesn't matter anymore, and it's all fine, and he's the peace president. I mean, Trump is not the peace president, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I voted for him personally. I remember the night of the first attempted assassination with Thomas Crooks. I went to the office. I was leaving church, and I found out this all happened. I immediately drove to the office. I did like 3 or 4 hours live with Chase and then with my dad calling in, of course. And I pulled the cross out of my shirt, and I told people to vote for Trump. Mm-hmm. And I told people to vote for him because I believe they carried out that attempted assassination to stop him from being president because they wanted World War III. Yeah. And they wanted that Ukraine war to devolve. We had Biden sending the long-range missiles and all that. And look where we are now. Yeah. We're right back to where we started with the Tomahawks. And then the whole Israel-Gaza situation. I mean, look, we have eyes, we have ears, we can see what's going on. The videos are very clear. It's a genocidal campaign that's been waged on an area that's like 2 or 3 times the size of Austin. Yeah. And half the population's like under 18. Yep. But it's okay. It's fine. They throw out these numbers, 50,000, 70,000 dead, and they say, look, this is our approximation. These are what our numbers say. And then you look at the entire place, it's like a parking lot. Yeah. I think in a decade or less than a decade, it'll become readily and very apparently clear what actually happened in the Gaza Strip. And more importantly than anything, really, how it was all allowed to happen. Like, there had to be a stand down on October 7th, guys. Like, there's no other calculation you can come to. Go ahead.
If no one's seen it, I mean, Charlie Kirk was saying that just a few days after it happened on PBD's show. I mean, I've never been there. I've never been, but we know about the Iron Dome. So how does something like that happen? And we know about all the things that happen in this country with false flags. Not saying people hear false flags, they think that means no violence. False flags also mean real violence. Right.
Allowed to happen type of operation. I mean, like my dad had Ivan Ranklin on. He's a frequent guest on the show, like ex-Green Beret. He's done all sorts of stuff and that type of like theater operation. And he said, look, I've been there. Their nearest like Black Hawk base is 10 minutes away from the border. And you'd figure for like the most militarized nation on earth, the second they start live streaming the killing of their own people, they're going to be in those helicopters and they're going to be dumping lead in 10 minutes. Yeah. But we don't see that happen. And, you know, it's horrible that all these things happen for the civilian population, for the citizens of the countries. Yeah. But for the governments, just like 9/11, it's the best thing could ever happen.
Right.
You got an invincible story, right?
Never let a tragedy go to waste.
Yeah. That's how history works, you know?
Yep. Speaking of like what happened on July 13th with Trump and Butler, you know, I knew a lot of people who also weren't sold on Trump beforehand, but that was a major day for them. Like, well, we got to vote for Trump now. And then I remember a lot of them reaching out to me on that day when I think Trump tweeted or Truth Socialed it out, that AI video of like Elon dancing with cash falling on him in Gaza, you know, and that is the future of Gaza. It will be that AI video.
I mean, they got oil off coast. They got all that prime real estate. They've got the most fantastic real estate around. Yep. And is that what it all comes down to? Like, are people not people? And I mean, I guess leading into like the robotic and AI conversation, I mean, ChatGPT, all these things, they work exactly how I imagined Google would work as a kid. Yes. Right. When I got first introduced to search engines, I go, okay, so I type something in here and it's going to give me an answer. When in fact, it just gave you like resources and information tied to your answer. now that we're there, people can kind of just generate whatever future they want. So they can say, this is how I see the future. This is what's going to happen to this area, regardless of fact or knowledge or anything. They can just pull it out of their butt, kind of like that Trump Gaza video. And then it's sanctified in their mind.
Exactly.
I think people stopped being people a long time ago to them. And I really don't know what to refer to us as now, at least in their eyes.
I mean, slaves to a lot of them. We're slaves. You know?
Sure.
They see us as currency for them.
Yes.
Useless eaters. Exactly. Okay. So before we go into the tech stuff, because that is something I definitely want to talk about, this other comment happened recently, and I know you were tweeting about it. I'm curious what if you want to talk about it more, what the implications of it mean to you. Trump saying he might not get to heaven. That was a pretty profound statement to hear, and very sad. Like, I pray for Trump, and I want Trump to go to heaven. And I pray for even people who are my enemies. I try, it's difficult, but I try. What did you think when you saw that?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because in maybe a Catholic or Orthodox perspective, the proper thing would actually be to say, I don't know. But that's if you're a pious person, you're trying not to be, a hypocrite. At the end of the day, evangelical, Protestantism is what's dominant in the country, all the different non-denominational and denominational forms of it, right? Yep. And the key thing in that is sola scriptura and sola fide. I believe, therefore I am saved. Right. And if you profess to be a Christian, you profess to believe in Jesus, especially the way, I've kind of heard him pay lip service to it over the years, I've lived a bad life, but I hope Jesus will let me into heaven. I hope, I believe, I trust, something like that. But you don't hear that. It's very negative, guilty language out of him. And it's very concerning for the leader of the free world, because, I think he practices Judaism, to be honest with you. That's my belief, because, you look at Ivanka, you look at the whole situation where there he wears a tiny hat, he goes and prays at the wall. Right. But at the end of the day, I don't know, to hear that the sitting president of the United States of America not only doesn't think he's going to get into heaven, but he kind of scoffs at the idea. He does seem to have a very guilty conscience.
He might, and maybe he's a believer, but he's done stuff that he just thinks won't get him in. But I believe in redemption for even the worst of people. As unfortunate as that might sound to people, I have to believe in extending that grace. But it was such a solemn, sad thing, especially after something like July 13th happening to him. Saved by God. You
can't argue with that, right? And you really can't. I've heard people say, "Oh, it's a psyop, it's ketchup on the ear." I don't believe that for a second. Right. I believe maybe the CIA tried to kill him. We haven't heard anything about it because of that, because that guy was a cutout. Right. But he was this close to being dead. Yeah. Look at what happened if he hadn't turned his head.
I believe he was shot at. I believe none of the official story. I don't like that he says he accepts the official story. Maybe he's lying, but certainly we're not getting the full story there. Like every other assassination, political assassination in this country.
I wonder if that's what they do, kind of like Kirk, but of course Kirk didn't survive. Kirk got killed immediately. I wonder if they do something like that to you as a warning, and they go, hey, look, this will keep happening to you again and again and again, unless you acquiesce a little bit and you come over to our side, and then, hey, look, you're the great hero, but we're going to keep trying to do this to you over
the old fire a warning shot across their bow. Situation. Yeah.
I do think that. I think because it was beneficial, as sadistic as it sounds, it was beneficial to him. All the people, supported him. Elon, all of a sudden.
I was a true believer for 6 months.
Yeah.
Solid.
Totally.
Rock solid. I was proud to be MAGA again. And I hadn't felt that way since I was 14, 15 years old. A little interesting side note. I was the person that convinced my dad, Alex Jones, to support Trump. I was at Schlitterbahn Water Park. I think I was 14 or 15 years old. I must have been 14. This is right before my 15th birthday. And we're watching the first Republican debate, the primary debate. And I point to the TV. I go, that guy's going to be president. He goes, you're an idiot. You don't know nothing about politics. And I was like, yeah, but he looks like the president. He's going to be the president.
Wow.
And I kept working on him. I kept going, he's going to be the president. He's going to be the president. And I was so fixated on Jeb Bush's polling numbers. I would show them to him every day.
Wow.
Look at this, look at this, look at this. And eventually, but I lost that spirit, particularly, after he didn't defend us during the deplatforming. He famously said, as long as I'm on Twitter, it's okay. Right after we got banned. Right. And then look what happened. But that incident galvanized me to support him again for a solid half year.
And Trump used to call into InfoWars, no?
He did one interview. He did a 30-minute with Alex. Someone needs to repost that. I haven't seen it reposted enough. He did call into the show, and he famously said, this is what he said to Alex: you have a great reputation, and I will not let you down.
Wow.
That's what he said. And look at us now.
Yep. Yeah, I think you guys need a lot more support from a lot of people right now. What's going on the attacks on Infowars, and we'll get that. I'm going to put that on the shelf for a second, but one of my biggest problems with this administration is the embrace of the big tech vampires.
Right.
You know, and they've been around. Some of them have been around since the beginning. Thiel's been there since 2015, give or take. Obviously, Vance is a part of that. But like that recent dinner they had a few weeks ago where they're all there, Bill Gates was there, Zuckerberg was there. These people hate you. You know, you and your dad in particular for sure. They've censored, suppressed, demonetized, villainized, and Zuckerberg in particular, he's been on record talking about the government telling him he's got to, get these people off of his platform. So for me, the total embrace of Silicon Valley is very worrisome. Is that where you're at with that as well, or?
100%. I mean, you look at all the money he's given to Sam Altman and OpenAI, like even Elon to an extent. The real guy that scares me is Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
Larry Ellison, he's like 81 years old, but he's got the makeup work and like the plastic surgery to look like he's in like his late 50s, like early 60s.
Yes.
That guy really scares me. And all the digital ID stuff he's doing over in Europe with Tony Blair, giving him like 300 million and all this. And now Tony Blair is supposed to be like a colonial governor of Gaza. Yep. It's a big club and you ain't in it, as George Carlin famously said. I mean, I think the advantage of having a real, like, Trump is a boomer president.
Yeah.
He is king boomer. And I think when you have boomer brain and you don't understand technology, I mean, you think about like your parents or your grandparents having to help him with the phone. I don't think he has a concept of how truly dangerous a lot of this stuff is. And if he does have an inkling or a feeling towards it, he just kind of ignores it because it's good for him and good for his agenda, ultimately, the way he sees it. Because he goes, look, I use social media to win. I was popular on TikTok. I blew up on there. That was a big part of winning the second term. It's good if an American company or person owns TikTok now. It's good. When ultimately I think we may have been better off with the Chinese.
Oh, no. Dude, I agree. Larry Ellison is a major issue. We talk about him all the time on the show. I mean, he's a transhumanist like most of these guys. So it's part of why he looks like, the way he does.
Well, it's that Gnostic idea of that matter is bad, matter is evil, and we have to transcend matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And keep all of us on our best behavior, and which he's on record on saying, he's on video saying it. And the fact that he's, Oracle's now taking over TikTok, and his son is buying up all these things. He's part of the free press deal that happened with CBS. Like, they're installing a new type of alt media through the mainstream media, whether it's the social media platforms or the TV, old school network stuff, where they're going to pretend to be the dissident voices. And they've tried to ingratiate themselves into that, like the right-leaning dissident voice, but they're completely antithetical to most of what I believe. And they totally embrace the tech oligarchs, who I think are legitimately the biggest threat to humanity.
Well, you see, Shane, right wing just means making money.
Yeah,
that's all it means. That's all right wing means is that's the one value. That's the one commandment, is to make bank. Yep. Like, that's all these people care about ultimately. And I think for Trump, that's a very easy idea to marry into his own ethos, right? Because he's about making money. He's about being the guy with the gold. So he sees all these other people building the system. He goes, hey, I can kind of sniff out the system's going to be successful. I want in on it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's helping to build out the surveillance state, right, and this like new media apparatus, which is completely false. And I mean, obviously they, like, the free press leans certain ways, they don't lean the way that, I would prefer to read. That's cool. They're doing their thing. But the fact that his son is buying all this stuff up is worrisome for sure. I think he's even talking about Warner Brothers now, but all these people don't like humanity. I mean, they're all building these network states. They have their private cities. They want you to buy into transhumanism, which is stuff like Elon totally supports. We report on these artificial womb factories that he's promoted.
Yeah, it's not good. Satanic.
Insane. It's insane. Totally satanic. And so I was curious about your take on these robots. The robots, when I was a kid, man, robots were pretty cool. But now they're telling me I need a robot to be, I have 3 kids, and I need a robot babysitter. I need a robot to do my laundry. Are you letting a robot into your house?
Right. Well, I mean, my dad has a great argument about this. Like, hey, like, you should just get a respirator. Like, why do you have to breathe? Just put yourself on the respirator. Wow. We've already ceded so much control. I mean, I don't even live in a world or remember a world where there weren't screens or TVs or at least a computer to interface with. I remember when the first iPad came out. Yeah. And I was a little kid and I was like, wow, like, this feels like space age, like sci-fi technology. But now as an adult, it's just kind of, I use the screen, I use the computer, whatever. But it will get to a point where, these Optimus robots that Elon has, they may look kind of like crappy and they may look, kind of goofy and silly. In 10 years, that'll be staple. And they'll be everywhere. They'll serve you food. They'll drive your car. They'll be the valet. And when we reach that point, we'll have that demand, for people just going, hey, but just give us universal basic income, right? Just give us enough to live on, give us all welfare, and we'll let the robots do the job. And I'm sure, you have a robot in your stead that's employed that works for you.
Yeah.
And like that'll be good, right? Won't that be good? Yeah. And then you could spend all day, like watching porn or, just like playing video games, and that's your future. And that's good. And
they say that, they say that, the ones who don't adapt, we're going to plug them into the metaverse, basically, or whatever, fake world you want to buy into, plug in. You don't have to get married. You don't have to have a family. You have everything shipped to you. And your digital identity will mean more to you than whatever you left behind in the physical world. Right. And I guarantee a lot of people are going to buy into that. And the robot, that's a great point. The robots of today might move like Joe Biden, but the robots of tomorrow are going to be like Bruce Lee. And it's coming right around the corner. And for me, like,
what happened? They go, the police, they abuse people. There's police brutality. We'll just have the robots be the cops, And
great.
once we cross that Rubicon, it truly is over. Once they're in like military and law enforcement roles, and that's where I really see it going. Yeah. But beyond even that, my dad talked about this on Rogan like 10 years ago, and people criticize my dad. They criticize Alex. They say, you boomer, bad takes, you name it, whatever. He laid out the blueprint over a decade ago. Look, it's about building an internet of everyone's thoughts and dreams so that you can predict the future in present time, like Minority Report. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're headed. And once they have that control system, they don't even need to do anything. They just press a button, and they can like make someone a hero or make him a zero.
That's right.
Whether their beliefs align with theirs or not.
Yeah. When I wrote this story on your dad a few years ago, I asked him, everyone's saying you're a prophet, you're guessing all this stuff, you're getting all this stuff right. And I always think of his answer. He's like, I just read everything. I'm just they're saying it all. It's out there. I'm just reading, and that's why I always talk about the overhead view on his show. You look at all the articles out, like this dude has read everything, so he's got the future mapped out because they're telling us, right? And they're just expecting you to be an idiot, not read it all.
100%.
And for the what's next is the pre-crime, what you're saying, and then to marry like this, both the conversations we've been having so far about war, Gaza, what's going on in Ukraine, the big tech sector has just inflated with the war. And I can't even imagine what nightmarish weapons they've been developing out there. We have like AI lavender in Gaza, outsourcing a lot of this death machine to murdering people. And it has like a large error rate. And, what I worry about is at some point that will be turned on the civilians here.
Safer because ultimately there's no one you can blame. You blame the algorithm. You go, the algorithm made a mistake. It's no one's fault. You can't get us in trouble for it and maybe make us pay a fine, whatever, but it's the computer. And that's the real, absolution of guilt that they want. They want to just be able to say, hey, maybe our system did kill millions of people, but it was an accident. It was an error. It wasn't intentional. So therefore we get to refine it, try again. And we need even more power to make sure that it's perfect this time.
Yeah.
And people will submit to that. They will.
It's very unfortunate, but they will. You talked about COVID. I was in New York during lockdowns. It's where I'm from initially. And, thankfully I escaped. But I saw my neighbors turn into tyrants. I saw family members turn into tyrants. They were trying to pass a law where they didn't pass it, but they were trying to pass a law where they wanted to make it okay for anyone to be ripped out of their house if they were a threat to the health of your community. I mean, this is what they want. They fetishize being tyrants, and watching them outsource tyranny to your neighbors was insane. So you're totally right. Like people are going to buy into this stuff for sure. And the thing I'm worried about next is the pre-crime stuff. We've seen it in the UK. I don't know if you've been following that story. They have like a pre-crime, like a homicide unit where they're going to scrape your data, probably with like a Palantir situation, and then be able to determine who is most likely to commit a homicide and then arrest you. You're like you're saying, your dad's been talking about that for a decade, but it's here now and it's right around the corner.
Thought crimes,
exactly. Mm-hmm. It's evil stuff, man. So when it comes to what's going on, speaking of InfoWars and everything going on there, your dad and InfoWars has been under attack for quite some time, and I think it's insane, totally insane, and shows how our justice system is completely captured. So walk us through what's happening, because I saw him make an announcement, I think last week, saying that it's now the judge has finalized this, and I guess they're going to take it away now. Is this what's going on?
Okay, so here's what happened, right? And this is a complicated story. I'm going to try to go through it. I may make some errors along the way, but I'll try to keep myself on timeline, which is something I'm pretty good at. So 2018, we get deplatformed, we get banned, we get taken off YouTube, Facebook, X, everything within essentially 2 weeks of it all happening together. We build our own streaming platform, Band.video. We're still making the videos, we're still making the media, we're still doing it all, but essentially we lost like 80% of our audience during that time. Around 6 months after that happens, they hit us with the lawsuits, and the lawsuits begin, and we have listener backing, we have people buying the supplements, so we're able to fight it, and we're able to stay in court for like 3-4 years. But eventually in 2022, they have the big cases, they have the big hearings, and they just ruled my dad guilty by default. And how they did that was they said, okay, we need every email that's ever been sent to InfoWars, and we need it now. We need it within 2 weeks. You have to find everything. You're talking about like tens, if not hundreds of millions of pieces of information that have been sent throughout this period of time. Of course, Alex isn't able to present that all. InfoWars isn't able to present that all. So the judge just goes, boom, you're concealing something, you're hiding something. I rule you guilty by default. And then the trial was just to determine how guilty he was. And this is the same thing they're doing to the MyPillow guy right now. They had a guy from some Ivy League university, and I've got to do this. I've got to do a deep dive. I've got to rewatch the whole trial. I've got to pull out these tidbits because I know him. I've seen him live. I watched it happen, but people don't believe you until you've got like really just boom, boom, boom clip list of everything you've ever seen, but I'm going to do it. They had this guy come up and he says, Alex Jones is worth like $300 million. That's how much he's personally worth. That's how much money he's taken from the operation. This is how much this guy is worth. And Shane, you've been at the office. You've seen where the money goes. It goes to the crew. It goes to the massive facility. Alex was successful because he never spent really a dime relative on himself. He spent it all on the company. The big house that he bought and had for a couple of years, he sold that. He had bought it for like a couple million, like 2 or 3 million. He sold it for like 6 or 7. And that was the only reason why he was able to fight the court battle, right? So every asset he's ever had, he spent on the operation and defending the operation. But boom, they just go, look, you're worth 300 million. And the jury goes, well, 10% of that is fair. And the big judgment, the 2.2 billion, that's what the Connecticut people ruled and want from him. But there's like a $55 million judgment in Texas, and that's what they're currently trying to collect, right? So they ruled that 55 million number, and they point at him. They go, look, we had this Ivy League professional come up. He's worth this much money. This is just the reality and truth of the story. Alex has never had more than like 5 or 6 million, like including property, like all together. But they rule this amount. They say, look, if he doesn't have it, the company has it. We're going to chop apart the company. All the InfoWars equipment is great, but we built that during the heyday, like between 2015 and 2018, right? So all this stuff is old and outdated, and all the money goes to it, the maintenance, the payroll, and ultimately 2 broadcasts to run the studio. So they come into this operation that essentially it's all listener funded, and they go, look, we're going to take the valuation of what the company will make going on into the future. This is what the people that I'm going to let him myself. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. It's a long story.
It's worth hearing.
They rule him guilty by default or liable by default. They say he's got to pay this money, and then it goes to bankruptcy court. And there's differences in bankruptcy court. There's chapter 7 and there's chapter 11. I think it's chapter 7 where they immediately chop everything up. But we were in chapter 11 bankruptcy because, the business is still profitable, right? And you're not going to gut a business that's still profitable. You're going to try to extract the maximum value for the clients or the plaintiffs in the case if they're like owed money from it, right? So they go, look, we're going to have an auction for this thing. This is what the federal bankruptcy court and judge decided. And, the highest cash bidder, they're going to get the property, and they're going to get the digital assets. They're going to get the name. They're going to get everything. Right. A person, a company friendly to us, they bid like it was 8.1 or 8.8 million for the whole thing. And then the Onion people come in. The founder of Twilio actually is the guy who actually runs it. The Onion people come in and they say, look, we're going to bid 1.1 million cash. We're going to promise 10 million of the future earnings of the company. Now, you can't do that because the valuation of what the company is worth is all based on Alex working there. Right? That's what it all 100% is based off of. But the bankruptcy trustee, a very slimy guy, in my opinion, in my view, he ruled that the auction was going to be closed instead of open. Those were the only 2 bids that were allowed, and he gave the bid to the people that bid less. Right. So the federal bankruptcy judge, he goes, whoa, this is illegal. You can't do this. This isn't what I ruled on. You had to have an open auction with the highest cash bid. And it all got essentially rendered inert. There was a pause put on the whole thing, and we continued to function like for the past year. All this happened in like November of 2024, if I recall correctly. So now we're in a situation where that same judge just kind of washed his hands like Pontius Pilate and has said, okay, it's back to the state court. And the state court is the place where they had the HBO show trial. I mean, this Judge Guerra Gamble, they literally had HBO cameras. They had people doing her makeup in the courtroom when they're filming this entire thing for the HBO documentary, The People versus Alex Jones. And it's back in her hands now. So they've sent the state receiver in, and I haven't been privy to those conversations because I'm not that high level. It's not my company. It's my dad's company, of course. But there is a deadline. There is an end date. I'm unsure as to what that is, but InfoWars, as it stands, unless there's some sort of Supreme Court ruling or act of God, it is over. There is a deadline to it. And the reason why we fought so hard, specifically Alex, is like, this is his baby. Like me personally, I love that building. I spent more time in that building than any home I've ever lived in my entire life. And, you know, when this happened like 2 years ago, when they ruled on us and declared us liable, I was so sad. I was crying in there. I was walking through the halls. I was like, man, like, is this truly over? But as time went on and we kind of operated in that coma or like ghost ship state, I've made my peace with it at the end of the day, because I know he's going to go on to do better things, but it is really weird now to go into a place that's essentially condemned, a place that's on life support. It's still there. It's so weird.
It's got to be so weird, dude. I remember when that day that the studio was raided, maybe a year ago, and
they cut the internet.
They cut the internet, and I was distraught and I was really upset, but also laughing hysterically when your dad just drove like down the road to another studio and just kept going. I was like, you can't stop this guy.
Oh, it'll never stop. And like, that's the thing they don't understand is they're in like 1,000 round fight. It's not like a 12 round fight. And like, I don't care what kind of resources they have. They will never have the drive that he has to stop it. Because you have to be as energetic as him and as motivated as him. And trust me, I'm not. I'll tell you that right now. He's a workaholic. It's all that he does.
Yeah. No, it's impressive.
Yeah, like I grew up there, man. Like that place is my home. Like the crew is my family at the end of the day. I remember like the reason why the valuation was so high was between 2015 and 2018, that place generated $170 million purely off of supplement sales.
Wow.
No backer, no donor, just off the listeners supporting it and funding the operation really through the first Trump campaign and in the beginning of the Trump term. So for me, that was always something I was very proud of. And like going on in private life, like I'm a supplement white labeler, I'm a manufacturer, I own warehouses, I'm shipping, fulfillment, pallet storage, all that stuff. I learned how to do that there because I grew up. I remember when we moved into that building, it used to be in a pet store. We had like 6 or 7 people there, but because it was such an organic and really true operation built off of love, I remember at its peak, there were 78 people in that office building.
Wow.
There were 78 people. And people maybe don't have a concept of like what that looks like. It's huge. Yeah. It's massive. And we had our own warehouse. We had like a 12,000 or like 14,000 square foot place with giant like 50-foot ceilings. It was like an aircraft hangar.
Yeah.
And like that was so inspiring to me because how I saw it grow and really the organicness of it all, it never felt like we were doing something wrong. It felt like we were doing something right. And it was just kind of the universe like rewarding us for, the authenticity of the operation. And people point at him and they go, he's a shill. He sells supplements. Everyone reads a code. Everyone reads a code for like 7 or 15% and they get a cut and they do the show so they can sell the product. We did the product so that we could do the show. Yeah. And that was always the way I understood it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I've, lost so many friends for defending Alex Jones over the many years, and also many death threats for saying things about positively about Alex. But like, I don't care. I don't care if I lost those friends. I, in my heart, know I was doing the right thing and supporting, free speech, supporting the message getting out there. And I love that. So there's like video of you when you were like 12, right? Are you that young filming doing your own broadcasts from InfoWars?
Yeah, I started doing videos earlier when I was like 10, 11 years old, but he made me wear a mask. He said, you have to wear a Guy Fawkes mask. I'm not ready to put you out in the shark pit, as he put it, just yet. When I was 12, he brought me into the studio and just kind of took off from there. I mean, like I had like over 500,000 views on all my videos, man. Like a big part of me being sad about the YouTube deplatforming was I lost my entire body of work.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. We used to put out like 6 videos a day.
Yeah, that YouTube page was great. I wish you can get it back. Was there something when you were that young, like a story that stuck out to you? Like I have opinions, and it changed. It like warped your perception of our quote unquote reality.
For sure. So growing up, it wasn't even my dad, even though like I grew up watching him and I always admired him in that way. And I knew I wanted to do something to that extent, kind of like he was doing. it was everyone else in my life, whether that was at school, like at sports activities, like athletics, you name it, coming up to me and telling me my dad was, can I curse on here? Is that allowed?
Go for it.
My dad's a piece of shit because he lied about 9/11 and how dare you? Like that was the whole narrative. So I started looking into 9/11. I'm like, wow, they blew up Tower 7. They blew up a building. And like I was like, hold on, wait a minute. And then I actually read my dad's book, 9/11 Road to Tyranny, which is actually dedicated to me. That book came out in 2002. And that's really what woke me up.
Wow.
So growing up, it was really, it's funny now because the Trump, I remember a time before Trump, like I was young and very politically aware, kind of like in the second Obama term and even a little bit before that. I remember a time when our entire political zeitgeist wasn't defined by one man.
Right.
It wasn't populist. You had establishment Democrat, you had establishment Republican, and it was the establishment Republicans that hated us the most. They hated us the most. And those are the people I was around a lot. Yeah. So I kind of got used to that. I never had a libtard experience until like 2016. Wow. And I was like, whoa, who are these people? What's this creature?
Right.
What's going on here?
Right.
But it was always, the establishment Bush types, that like those people, that like John McCain and other such types. Yep. And Alex has always been very anti-war. So growing up in a household that was very anti-war, and it was explained to me that, war and death is evil. It's a tool of the devil. I just had a natural inclination towards populism. Yeah. And I wanted to be educated. I wanted to learn for myself. My dad's also really big on, the poison in the water. There's poison, there's fluoride, atrazine, stuff like that. True. I used to like gum as a kid. He would like take it away from me if I went to the gas station and bought something and tell me about, the aspartame and the bacteria, fecal matter. That's what it actually is and all that. And I'm like, whoa, like, what are you talking about? Is this real? And then I look into it and of course it is.
Yeah, so. I know, dude. Yeah, that's why I love talking to your dad and now you, because, I have 3 kids and these are, I make it PG for the kids. I don't get too into the weeds of some of this stuff because they're still young, but we've certainly been at like dinner parties and someone serves salmon, and I actually learned this from Alex. They're like, my son goes, that's bioengineered. I'm not eating it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's true though, and he's like, the sky's a weapon. I'm like, I'm proud, but I'm like, am I ostracizing my kid from polite society? I don't know. I don't think I care, but I think it's important to know. I'm not saying it to him because I think it's just funny. Like I legit believe this stuff. I believe that they're poisoning us with the food. We're very careful what we feed our kids, what we let them drink. If they get screen time, we don't have a TV in our house, because I know it's like this stuff is very addicting and it's horrible for your soul. So, I'm always very curious, like what it's like growing up in a household with parents that are very open to how deranged the world is. Like did you feel like you had to rebel against that at any point?
Not really. I mean, I also come from a pretty broken home as well. Like my folks went through a nasty divorce when I was like, like 11 years old, right. Maybe a little bit older than that. And it was during that time I had a real, I had to really worry about my safety. And I love my mom and I care about her. I used to disparage her and Lord have mercy on me for that. But, growing up where I was at as a kid, especially during that time, my dad's always been a workaholic. He's worked a lot, especially between the ages of like 8 to 12. The only real happy time I had was at the office, right? And at home, it was not a good situation. Right. So I had an opportunity to really choose who I lived with when I was about 12. And I went over to my dad and I was like, hey, I want to stay with you. I want to be with you. And he was like, great. Like, I'll take care of you, everything, you name it. But like, I want you to work with me. Yeah. And I was like, wow, you want me to work with you? And he was like, yeah. So that's how I got involved with all of this really was, the only place I felt safe was at the office and with him because he took care of me.
Right. Isn't that crazy? I love that. I love that story, but it's also crazy to think about from a macro view of like a place that has been attacked by the world, demonized, villainized, vilified. But I totally understand that. And it's great. And so now you've got, you're doing your own thing with the gray area. Was it, I think I've heard you say was it these wars that brought you back into wanting to broadcast?
Yeah, man. It was Ukraine and it was Gaza, and it was not having a voice to speak about such things. And it was hearing kind of the milquetoast commentary from all people, kind of including my dad as well on a lot of these topics, especially what's happened around Israel. Right. And I was like, hey, I got to talk about this. Like I got a good voice. I have a good mind for it. And I watch Judge Napolitano, Dialogue Works, Glenn Deason, all these phenomenal YouTube channels with these geopolitical analysts that are actually giving the real news. And I'm like, hey, I'm not hearing enough of this. So I had to come out and start doing that.
That's great.
So, yeah.
I think that's important. So one last thing before we go, I've been thinking a lot about what happened with Sandy Hook and now what's going on with like Candace Owens in France. Like, do you see that she might be the next, they might Alex Jones Candace next, and like how that might affect YouTube and other platforms moving forward? I'm seeing parallels there. But now it's like the right wing influencers who are so pro Israel are now doing the dirty work, whereas it used to be the corporate press.
Right. I agree with you. It's MAGA Inc. is what it is. It's that whole corporatist side to the Republican Party. And excuse me, it's what I was talking about before about knowing a time before Trump. I really think we're returning back to that time of establishment left and establishment right. And those are the two groups. And you're either like a FAFO person or you're like a libtard person. Those are the only two identities that you're allowed to have. You aren't allowed to think outside of any other box relating to that. As far as the Sandy Hook thing goes, number one, I'm not rich enough to comment on it or even talk about it. I believe it happened, whatever, you name it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they have a good enough story. They take it to civil court. They got that preponderance evidence standard where 50.1% chance that you're liable, you're screwed. It's worse than criminal court.
Yeah.
And the way they're able to misrepresent you, and specifically the amount of money that you have, I was thinking when you asked that question, I was like, kind of, but she's married to that English lord and she's got all that money. Money don't matter. They'll take you for everything you got. They'll say you're worth the GDP of India.
Literally.
They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I do see a parallel to that.
Yeah, it's worrisome to me because I'm seeing people who, I used to be in agreement with like, let's just ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. It's not a bad thing, especially when it comes to, we have a long history of political assassinations. It's okay to ask questions. And clearly Candace is very emotionally invested in it. She knew Charlie very well. But I get very worried when I see people starting to say like, we got to, this is a voice we can't hear. And then they set an example. We saw that happen long ago with your dad. And I am vehemently opposed to that stuff. So keep an eye on all that stuff. But my brother, it was a pleasure having you on. I'd love to get you in the studio at some point. We'll have to find a way to get you to West Virginia. It'd be great to have you here in studio. Before we let you go, let everyone know where they can find you online. Where's the podcast and where are you on Twitter?
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Twitter at Rex Jones News. That's Rex Jones News with a Z, like REXJONESNEWZ. I'd really appreciate a Twitter and X follow, whatever you want to call it. Like just come in, water's warm. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. But check out what I have to say. And check out the Gray Area podcast as well, where Gray Area talks on YouTube and on Rumble. It's a very small show. We're getting started. So really, like, every subscriber is immensely appreciated. And you comment, you give us feedback. Like, we're doing a lot of, like listener-based topics to start. Like, a listener will say this, we'll leave a comment or a comment on X, and we'll go ahead and do like an hour-long show on that topic. And, it's really fun for me because I had stepped away from media for a while. My co-host, Tim Tompkins, he's never really done media before, but we have a very natural fit with each other. So it's really a learning experience for both of us, and just grateful to have anyone and everyone really contribute to the conversation. We're going to do some call-in shows as well. I know y'all are about to do a call-in show, and I think that's phenomenal to do with your listeners.
Yeah, I love it, man. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. I remember I wanted to say this. When I interviewed your dad, he spoke so highly of you. Like, it was awesome. It was incredible. So pro-family, and it makes me very happy to hear those types of things. So it was incredible to hear him say those things about you. And I'm stoked to be following you now, following the show. Everyone should check it out. You did I think the recent episode was on the Fed, something we should all be talking about. It is a criminal situation. But thanks so much, dude. We really appreciate you being here with us, and we'll do it again.
Awesome. Let's do it again. That's what I was about to say. Have me on as much as you want.
Definitely, brother. All right. Have a good night, man.
All right. You too. Bye. God bless.
Amazing. Everyone should check out Rex. It's awesome. I'm enjoying his podcast. So you guys should go follow that stuff. How's everybody doing out there in the wild, wild west of the comments section? You all doing good? We should get to some callers now. I know Renee's out there. Renee probably had a wild weekend. I hope everything is going okay with her, because that's still wild stuff. But hey, guys, thank you so much for being here. We are stoked to be here after a crazy weekend. I was inundated with robot news. Maybe we'll get to a lot of that tomorrow, as I want to get to callers. But it has just been robot news after robot news. It's kind of overtaken the probe news. I haven't seen much of probe news. So maybe these two stories maybe the robots are coming on the probe.
And yeah, guys, check the chat's link should be posted. So go ahead and call us up, get in queue. We'll start going to calls.
Let's do it. Hello, everybody out there. What's up? What's up? The weekend's go by so fast. I'm glad to be back, but my goodness, it's a blur. I think the older I get, as I approach the age of 70, time is a flat circle.
As I approach the age of 70.
Yeah, you guys see it. You guys see it, right?
I feel like everybody's got that age that they feel like they're going to live to, and they're just not seeing past it. Mine was like 27, and I almost actually hit that number like a year prior to that, but thankfully I managed to make it past there. So, but there's just always this feeling afterwards of like, all right, what the hell do I do now?
David Flora, thank you for that Rumble rant. Fat guy in a little shirt, you say. You talking about me? I know. I had a little bit of bread this week, and I can't help it. I don't know if he's talking about me.
Who knows? We're all fat guys in little shirts at heart, you know, so.
Mental Flake says Brandon survived the 27 club. Let's go. Wait, Builder Babe said, Shane, your chat is retarded. Other than that, it's good. LOL.
Fantastic.
So you're saying it's awesome?
Because
I know I am. Retarded.
That's super constructive. It's very constructive feedback. We love it. We love to see it. All right. We got some people in here. Should we jump on the phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So let's just go down the line. So I believe Renee is calling back.
I think people are asking for an update.
So let's get her on.
Carol said
find out
gay
what's
robots.
going on.
Well. Carol, the robots are so gay that they're putting out right now. They're doing your laundry. They're washing your dishes.
Renee, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, Renee.
Welcome back.
Renee.
All right. So I just posted and tagged the show in the two videos that I just posted the two videos that I am coming in with today. The father did come the other day. He blessed the whole house.
Mm-hmm.
One of the videos, you can see me. You cannot see him. I wouldn't do that. So you can hear him talking in one of the videos. He's praying, and you see like me, I'm, bow head, whatever. And I'm quiet. There is a baby crying. I don't have a baby in my house.
Okay.
The timestamp, I think, is 47. It's something 47 seconds is when the baby starts. And then the second one, I was going through, I recorded. So what I did was I said, before my camera resets and like records over all of it, what I should do is screen grab the entire 34 minutes that he had here. So I did that. My phone was plugged in. It was on the headboard of my bed. I wasn't touching it. My phone was screen mirrored to my TV. My daughter and I were watching it. While this happened, I also sent a video clip where it skips like 20 minutes for no reason. It shows us praying, and then 20 minutes goes, then it's like 20 minutes. What the heck just happened? Like it fast forwarded somehow all by itself, literally.
Can we ask what you're recording on?
Well, I have a Wise camera, and I have my iPhone 12, so I'm just screen recording.
And has this ever happened before?
No.
Interesting. And it was there while the priest was doing this happened while the priest was blessing the house.
Yeah. So on the video, the recording jumps, and what is the crazy part? The really crazy part is so we're praying and you can hear him, and then it jumps 20 minutes, and then my 9-year-old comes out of my room and she's laughing. So that's why we were like, yeah, this is kind of crazy. So he did the blessing. And then that night there was knocking and banging around in the kitchen. So I'm like, what do we do? So
real quick, Renee, I'm going to pause you there for just a second. For anyone who's listening who doesn't know what we're talking about, Renee has been calling in. She shared videos from her house. There are some very strange disturbances that have been happening that we've seen in video. I can't explain them. I mean, I'm sure people out there are not believing it, or they think it's one thing or the other. But what we have seen is that there's been toys that have moved from stationary positions out of like a chest or off the top of a dresser, we've heard some really bizarre sounds. And then one of them was, I believe it was your daughter, when she saw something like a man, a figure. We didn't see the figure, but she kind of freaked out, right?
She didn't. Well, that was okay, Shane. So when she saw the guy, we were downstairs in my neighbor's apartment, which we live in a 4-family, so they live on the opposite side. I can't hear them. They can't hear me. Mm-hmm. So it's the banging around is not them. So she saw the guy. It was the same night though. What cause she was shutting the door, and then there was like a knock or a bang right on the door. That's what freaks her out.
Okay. So you have okay, before you said you had footage for us. Before we get to that really quick, what did the priest say? When you told him all this stuff, what was his response?
So he didn't really say too much. He just asked a bunch of questions like from my past, and I told him how I was in a group home when I was 13, almost 18, and how I saw the lady ghost before, and then how my mother sees ghosts too because she told me about what the lady looked like. I didn't tell her. She was like, yeah, she looks like this, and I was like, what the hell? So I told him about that. I told him, I was very honest. I told him how my daughter, she drew a Ouija board. We've lived here for 8 years. She was like 12 years old, So we don't, I told him about, that's the only time that's ever been here. Like, I told him how the paranormal researcher was here and all that stuff and some of the stuff that he was catching. He really didn't say too much. He just prayed and then just said, I'll pray for you. But he blessed the house and the holy water didn't dry red this time.
Okay, maybe that's an improvement.
Yeah, so I took pictures of the floor with the water on the floor just in case it did to prove, like, look, it wasn't red before.
Which is what happened before. Yeah, no, that is a good sign, I'd say. So how has it been since? It sounds like you have new footage, so it sounds like something's still happening.
Still. So the we'll just call it the big events, whatever. I don't know, the big bangs like last Sunday with the bang on the door, the closet door. That doesn't happen very often, but things like the remote disappearing, and then I'm like, hey, can I have it back? And it's right in front of me, or the toys moving and stuff like that. The small bangs and knocks, I mean, it doesn't really. We just look at each other and we're kind of used to it at this point. But it's when the big things go on, that's like when it's really scary.
How did your daughter take the priest? I know you guys have kind of a difference of opinion here.
Well, I told her before. Well, she had her Art the Clown sweater on, so I told her to take that off before he came in the house. So I told her to be respectful and bow her head when he prays and stuff like that, and just to be quiet. My 9-year-old was. I had to like keep shushing her, but kids and
That's
God and stuff. So
I have a 9-year-old. Yeah, they're feral.
yeah.
So Brandon, can you go to her page if do you need to remember?
Is it on yours or did you send it to Inverted?
I put it on mine and then tagged the show.
All right. Do you need to remember her?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, cool. All right, we'll pull it up. We will pull it up. So it sounds like things are still crazy, and I hope the other person that I set you up with reached out and maybe they can help as well.
Yes, Shane, I did message you because he did message me yesterday, and that was the thing too. There is so much stuff going on. How do you write it all in an email? And then I forgot to tell him about the part where the spirit box said, I am the beast. I didn't even tell him that. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to email him again. So I'm just like,
well, yeah, just wait for his response. You can always add that, but that's good. We're trying to get this thing taken care of. I think there's some serious darkness, surrounding you and this house. I know people are saying like, you got to leave, but as we've discussed in previous episodes, some of this stuff follows your daughter in particular, right? And she sees the stuff outside of the house. So it's kind of like not just a house problem.
Yeah, actually, her and I just went out. We got iced coffee from Cumbies, and we went up to walk around Target. And we were driving by a cemetery, and she's like, is there a man standing there? And I was like, no. And she goes, there's not. He's got gray hair. So I was like, do you want me to turn around and go back? And she said, yes. I went through the light, turned around, went back. There is no man there. There's no car there. We were not gone. if it was a real for real person, he would be on the sidewalk somewhere. There was no car. There was a red car there with a guy. So I drove all the way around through the park to not make it look fun, which was whatever. But so I drove all the way around to see what he looked like. Excuse me. And he did not have gray hair. And he had, my light is flickering. And he did not have gray hair. He did not have any hair. He had a hat.
Interesting.
And he was like way over on the other side. He wasn't where she saw the guy. She said he was standing there. He was looking down at the grave. He crouched down, and then that was it. Like, yeah. So she just, yeah. And even just now at 8:07 in the chat, something was banging around in the kitchen. So I'm like, yeah, it didn't work.
We got to give it time. You got to fight. This is going to be a serious fight, Renee.
Yeah, this is the third time the house has been blessed, and this is the first time that, well, the other two times it was like really serious, but then this one was like the father. So, and
I'm going to say something, and this is going to be tough, but I think it also has something it's important is, your daughter not taking it seriously. Like there is a darkness that she is seeing, I think a lot of it is going to come with her, like paying attention to this and maybe in a more serious manner. If it's is it upsetting to her as it is upsetting to you?
Yeah, because she sees, because when she was at school, she was having really bad anxiety, and because of the stuff, like she would see the kids without their head and stuff, but it would be like all bloody or she would have visions of like, yeah, but that was in the past and she doesn't have that anymore. But she doesn't have any like schizophrenia or nothing like that. She's not crazy. I literally had her in therapy since she was 4. Like we spent several times in the hospital. She's not that.
It doesn't sound like schizophrenia.
No.
It sounds like she's able to see some stuff. Like all the callers we've had on the show who've called in said they've been able to see certain things that they can't explain from, the other side, something dark, demonic sometimes, it sounds like that. When we're going to press play in just a second, but I want you to repeat this again, if you don't mind. When you say your daughter's like between worlds, can you tell everyone what that means?
Well, so when I went into labor with her, my placenta tore. I had placental abrasion or whatever it's called, and we both could have lost our lives. Her heart went from 160 down to 60, and the doctor basically stuck her elbows in me and ripped her out, and she was blue. Like the whole room was full of doctors. I couldn't even see my baby. I'm 20 years old. I couldn't even see her through the crack of an elbow. And so she's like 5, and I told you like the light was on, and I'm like, why is the light on? Oh, the boy did it. Like, right. She never said like that she saw things like that. She would just say the boy. Yeah. So she sees things, she knows things. And I'll tell you the crazy one. I was outside smoking a blunt with my cousin. She was taking a nap. I went to the store to go get a wrap and sodas or whatever. I came back. She was awake. I was outside smoking. No, she wasn't awake when I came back. I put the sodas in the fridge. Then I'm outside smoking with my cousin, and then I'm walking up the stairs, and I said, I need to go tell her about the soda. She comes out of the apartment with it in her hand. She goes, I already got it. And I didn't even say that out loud because my cousin was talking. She knew nothing about the soda. I was walking up the stairs to go tell her because I had got home and put them in the fridge. Yeah, so she just knows things.
Right. Yeah, and maybe it's a problem of not being able to understand it fully. Because like I've talked to people who've had this issue. I've been in conversations with people who've told me things like the situation with the soda stuff, like that have happened to me in different ways where they've totally called things. I'm like, that is bizarre.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's a thing, but it seems like a lot of this is an extreme darkness that is trying to invade her space, and it's affecting you guys. So that's what I mean is like, it seems like something that's going to have to be contained. Like she's going to have to find a way to figure this out and, I don't know, block it out. In my opinion, what I think is like, this is a Jesus Christ, come to Christ moment. I know she doesn't believe in that.
Yeah.
That's me, and I know those other people in the chat might have a different opinion, and that's fine. But the thing that brought me to God was experiencing evil in different ways than what you're talking about, but it was seeing profound evil that I could not deny, which then made my ignorant little brain be like, well, then there's got to be the opposite in a good. And so that's my part of my process. And like what Ryan Kreis was saying, I think he's talking about this conversation right now. And I'm going to say that it is a process, you know, what you're going through with this is like a spiritual battle. This is a darkness that has invaded you and your family. So with all that said, let's press play on here and we'll see what's going on. And you can walk us through
this one, the first one that he's got pulled up is the one that I was telling you about, the baby crying. It's at, the last number will be 47 is when it starts.
Okay.
Well, but this activity was going on before he came here, and that's why I called him, which was the wrong idea, but that's why I called him to see what's going on and to see if I could get help. Well, but this activity was going on before he.
That was just a 12. I didn't catch what happened there in that one. Was that the right video?
Yep. The time didn't go for some reason. It's not running.
Oh, hang on a second. You're probably delayed. You'll see it play in a few seconds, but I didn't hear. It sounded like it was just you talking.
It's me talking, yes, and then behind there's a baby.
Okay, hang on. Let's try this again.
Okay, we're listening for the sound of a baby.
Well, but this activity was going on before he came here, and that's why I called him, which was the wrong idea, but that's why I called him to see what's going on and to see if I could get help. Well, but this activity was going on before he.
Are you hearing it?
I'm not hearing it.
I'm not hearing it.
So I said that
it?
was the wrong idea. When I said idea, immediately after I said idea is the noise.
Came here, and that's why I called him, which was the wrong idea, but that's why I called him to see what's going on and to see if I could get help.
Was there like a thud there or something?
No, it's like that baby doll, but that baby doll is in the garbage.
People are saying they hear it. I'm having a hard time, but it might be one of those frequencies that old men like me can't hear. But Matt
We
saying he
fried
heard
it
it
out
twice.
from too much stage volume. Hang on. I'm gonna run this one more. I'm not hearing this.
Well, but this activity was going on before he came here, and that's why I called him, which was the wrong idea, but that's why I called him to see what's going on and to see if I could get help. Well, but this activity was.
I'm not hearing it. But people in the chat. People in the chat.
A couple times after I say which was the wrong idea, but I was just looking for help. It's like 3 times. Like I say idea and then it goes off. Yeah.
People in the chat are saying they hear it. Others are saying they don't. I'm having a hard time hearing it.
I'm deaf as hell. I can't hear anything yet.
I think some people are more worried that you might have are those Mountain Dew bottles in there.
No, it's water.
Okay, it's water, guys.
It's clearly
water.
We don't drink
It's
those
clearly
city
water.
It smells like chlorine. It's
That's
water.
poison.
Yep.
Okay, it's just water, guys. We're good.
But it is poison. It's bottled water. But the city water is worse.
This is true. This is true. Okay, what do we got here?
The other one is where a time jumps. Why did it do that?
Mine
Where does the time jump at?
You'll see.
Oh, this one's staying sideways on me, so I've got my neck cocked here. I'm trying to look at the timestamp. Wait, is that a jump right there? Oh, hang on.
When she comes out is where it jumped. I'm talking to Kyle. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, that's definitely a time skip.
You see me standing there, and there was on the. I would not lie to you. I swear to God on everything. My phone was connected to the charger on the thing, mirrored on my thing, mirrored on the TV.
So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a time skip there of what looks like about 19 seconds.
Like 20 minutes. It goes like. 40.
Oh, that is the minute mark. So that's a 20-minute skip.
Yeah, and you guys have seen it when I go back or forward in the thing when I'm rewinding it or going forward. You see me doing that. You don't see that in this. It jumps. And why is she laughing? You see me in the living room right there. I am praying with the Father, and then it jumps and she comes out and she's laughing.
So this was happening during the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my baby came out of So at 14:01, when she comes out, he's already gone.
But before the time dilation, he was there.
He was there, yes.
I don't know.
When you see me praying in the living room, I'm like praying, with him. Yeah.
So you got to keep praying, and you have to believe in your heart that you're going to defeat this, because something's going on. I know people in the chat seem divided. They could say you edited this video. They could say you made the things move. Anything's possible, but like those things that moved in those prior videos, that is certainly weird. I mean, I think you're surrounded by something dark, and I wish it was as easy as saying it was a place you could escape, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. And I don't think, and I know no spiritual warfare, whether it's personal, national, international, is going to be easy to fight. So it's not going to be like a one and done, and I wouldn't stop talking to the priest. Maybe, and maybe there's another one you could talk to, because you want them to take it seriously. I was hoping it would be someone to take this, because certain ones take this incredibly seriously. It should be taken seriously. If you're coming to someone for help, they take this seriously. Some don't.
Yeah, that's it. It's a big deal. So, I know that people think it's, BS or whatever, and it's not. I wish to God it was just some drug psychosis or something. How do you explain that stuff? When you're trying to go to bed and you have goosebumps and you feel like somebody is standing there watching you. Shane, my daughter did ask me not that long ago, she's like, do you think demons are just misunderstood? Like that they're good people? And I was like, no, I rebuke that immediately. Don't say that at all in my house. Like, do not.
Yeah, that's not good. No, that's not good. How's your Bible? I was going to say, how's your Bible? But have you thrown away all that other stuff? I know we talked about crystals going away. The people in the chat, and I agree with them, are saying not to use that other stuff like the spirit boxes. I know people do, and we have people calling the show who do. I personally don't use those things.
Dabbling is dabbling.
Yeah.
I know, we did. When it first started, I did reach out to the paranormal researcher, and then he was investigating the house for 4 years. There's so much stuff. So there's so much evidence, and I've got videos of the tripwires going off all by themselves, and it's crazy. Yeah,
True Blue 533 is echoing how I feel, and he says, or she, I'm not sure, True Blue, her daughter has to take it seriously or it will continue, and I think that's going to be probably your major obstacle. That's a tough one.
Yeah, she's she just turned 18, so how do you? And I failed her, because I've only just coming back around the last year or two, so I failed. I've never talked about God or, Jesus before, and now she's 18. It's kind of just like I'm dragging her through the mud,
Well,
so,
you know what? We all fail as parents to some degree. That's just normal. We're trying to do better than what we had. And it's never too late to, try to steer that ship in the right direction, and
that's what I'm trying.
It's hard because when people really are not willing to hear that, especially in this type of situation, it's gonna be tough. I was very stubborn. I wasn't going through stuff like that, but I had my own issues and totally rejected faith for a very, very long time. And here I am now. Someone once told me I was gonna have faith, and I laughed. It was one of these people who had visions. Actually, I was like, nah, it sounds like witchcraft. But here I am, and I think there's hope for everybody. So don't think you failed. Now you have the chance to totally win, and you're recognizing that something's going on. And I hope the person I sent you can maybe give you more help. I have faith in that person, and I know they take this stuff very, very seriously. So, I wouldn't feel bad to reach back out, keep in touch, and see what's going on. And as always, we'll be praying for you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Of course. And I know you sent me some stuff. I'm going to take a look at it later, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks for calling in.
All
today.
right, thanks. I'll see y'all in the chat. Bye.
Alrighty, bye-bye. All right. Prayers for Renee, people. I'm going to read some comments here while Brandon gets the next caller in. Builder Babe over on Rumble said, I've had doors open for me when I worked at the Stanley Hotel. That's right, which is where Stephen King stayed when he was inspired to write The Shining. That's exactly right. Builder Babe, sounds like you should call into the show. We would love to hear those stories. Stanley Hotel is a wild place. I believe the band Murder by Death does shows there still. and they take pictures inspired by The Shining there at those shows. It's a great band. David Flora, thanks again for the chat on Rumble. Follow the Boonies HQ on all social media platforms. Such an amazing event. That's right. What do you guys say about the Boonies? Well, you've been doing a lot.
I mean,
You've been keeping busy.
the skate night stuff. We just had a skate night over the weekend that I actually sat on panel with and did just intros and stuff, talk to the skaters, stuff like that. It's getting really good. It's kind of almost mimics like a fight night.
Yeah.
They have like a pro card come in, then a few undercards, and these guys just skate it out head to head.
That's awesome.
Winner takes home a cash prize. So it's been pretty cool. This last week was awesome. It was our third one, and just getting more involved. With more stuff, backing people up, doing more stuff. It's kind of just how it's working.
Yep, everyone should check it out. Vegan Now said, "Why does Shane smile sometimes?" You're right. Sometimes I forget.
How dare you?
I'm trying to hold it. I hate smiling. It's ridiculous. But thank you for that.
What the hell is wrong with you? Smiling like
Try to hide it behind the
occasion.
behind the microphone. Gross.
Only I get to do that. All right.
Who do we got next?
We're gonna go to Jeremiah Campana next.
All right.
Campana.
The Enlightened
Tomato,
Fool said,
tomato.
"I went to the Stanley Hotel." He said, "Boring." Interesting.
Jeremiah, can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you.
Hey, welcome to the show.
My guys, how you doing?
We're good, man.
Good,
What's
man.
up?
Oh, I'm on the night shift here with the newborn, looking for something to watch on YouTube, and
Nice.
found your show about a week ago.
Awesome. Congrats on the newborn. How old?
1 month.
Woo-wee. Amazing. Congrats.
Yes, sir. So thank you. So if I do suddenly drop off, you know why.
Yep. I
She
totally get
woke
it.
up. She's sleeping out. But yeah, man, a lot of good stuff you guys talk about. I want to stay on the subject of ghosts.
Cool.
Now I can tell you some ghost stories, but I do have a question for you, my brother in Christ.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to actually ask this when Seamus was on. Him being Catholic might have a different answer. Now think about everything you know about Scripture, and maybe what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to ghosts, do you think all ghosts are demons, or do you think there's differences?
It's probably differences. I don't know. Obviously the Holy Ghost is not a ghost. That is a different situation. I think some of it is demonic. I kind of had this conversation with Tim Alberino, who broke it down in a much better way than I could we were talking about like ghosts, UFOs, aliens, all that stuff. He says he thinks a lot of it's demonic and that some of them are demons. And I think that's a good way to look at it. Cause people can be possessed, like a Legion situation where he's like a hive of demons. But I also don't know, because I've had a lot of weird experiences where things are happening. I didn't see like a ghost. I didn't see like the typical ghost situation, but I've experienced things that I can't explain. Typically they happen through electricity. So I don't know what I would call that. Perhaps a demon, perhaps, someone else might say it's a spirit of sorts trying to communicate, maybe not a bad thing. I don't know. Cause since really embracing Christianity, I've had to kind of go back and look at all those experiences through a new lens. And I'm still making sense of those things. Like the story I tell a bunch is after my grandfather passed, this is a guy I loved a lot, a hero to me. And I stayed down to take care of my grandma for a bit after he died. And my last night in their house, a house I'd kind of grown up in, been there, over 30 years. Nothing weird ever happened there, but on my last night there, I experienced a very strange situation with the ceiling fan, and I was hearing the buttons turn on and off, and it was going fast, medium, high, low, all through the settings. And I just, at the time, way before I had faith, I was like, wow, that's my grandfather talking to me. And I would still like to think that, but I really don't know now. I'm kind of like reflecting on that, being like, it could also have been something bad trying to make me think it was something good, So I really, I don't know. And I'm still kind of parsing all those things through. What do you have a certain take on that?
Yeah, man, I'm same. I'm with you. I'm still trying to parse those things through, but I grew up through my faith, all thinking that it was all demons. There's no such thing as ghosts. Anything that could be considered a ghost is a demon. Loved ones don't talk to you. They can't communicate with you, yada, yada, yada. However, upon, looking at the scriptures, we see the famous story of Jesus walking on water, and they see him, and the disciples think that he is a ghost. And what's interesting about that is that the Greek word for ghost is not even similar to the Greek word for demon. It's phantasma, which is where we get our word phantasm.
Right.
And I can't remember the name, the Greek word for demon, but it's not even close. So they use two different words to describe spiritual beings, which makes me think that they have to be different if they're using different words to describe them, right?
Right. That's a great point. That's a really good point. And the words are very intentional. And I love looking through, as I'm reading the Bible now, rereading it very seriously for the first time in the last few years. I like going through different translations and seeing what words they pick, and that is fascinating. And then while you were talking about that, it also reminded me, like, there is also witchcraft in the Bible. There are people who are not Christ who are raised from the dead, and so there is like this other realm. Obviously, like, we know there's a spiritual warfare on. There's these demons are spilling into our world from that. They're trying to ingratiate themselves into people, possess people. So there's certainly something going on, and I think that's a good way of looking at it, because I do think that I'd like to think, I don't know, I'm not the authority on this clearly, but I'd like to think that it's not all bad, and I don't think it can be. I think there are good, I think Seamus would say, I'm putting words in his mouth, but that's what he gets for not being here. I think he would say that, the Catholics pray for the dead, and they believe that there can be good communication between the living and the dead. That was a conversation him and I had years and years ago, and I hope I'm getting that right. And any Catholics out there, you can call in and tell me how I'm wrong. So, I think there's something to that. I'd like to think that. I'd like to think I was seeing my grandfather somehow. But I also do know that bad things, demons, try to communicate with you, and they especially try to do it in like bad times when you're sad, and they try to do it under the guise of being family. So, these are just how I'm looking at it now through that lens, but it's tough.
Yeah. And, it could be, even if it isn't your dead family member, it could be God just giving you a sign like, hey, he's here, he's with me.
Right.
That's a possibility as well. And then, we see, what is it? Saul in Samuel. He was, for all intents and purposes, a righteous man in God's eyes for the most part, but till the end of his life. And he gets summoned, right? You talked about witchcraft. He go to see a witch, and he gets summoned there. And it's like, well, is that a demon, or was that really the ghost of Saul?
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yep.
Yeah. And then Jesus seeing Elijah and Moses on top of the mountain, right? So.
And speaking of Elijah, isn't Elijah just one of two people who made it to heaven without dying?
Correct. Him and Enoch. Yep.
Enoch. Right. So we also have that. So that's why it's so complicated. And I don't know if there's an authority on that. If someone else has a different take, I'd love to hear that. But I've been trying to be like, it's not all demonic. I think a lot of it is. And I think a lot of demonic stuff in this side of things and on that side of things tries to pretend to be good. And that's just something we all have to be aware of.
For sure. And I think that's why we are warned against witchcraft, because us as humans are going to have a really hard time telling the difference.
Yep.
And demons could probably, in fact, they do, not probably, they do easily fool us on a regular basis. They know us in some ways better than we know ourselves. You got to think these demons have been watching humanity since the beginning of humanity. Yep. So they can't predict the future, but just based off what they know about humans, they can predict what you're going to do, or like they know you better than you might know yourself.
Yeah, they're looking at us like data, like they're scraping us for our data and our routines. And that's why I always recommend the book, The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, to look at how, I think it's a great depiction of how demons try to ingratiate themselves into your consciousness and get to steer you towards sin. And it's, it starts with small things and it leads to another. And, everyone's got to be aware of that.
100%. But yeah, man, I do. If you want to hear them, I won't tell them all. I'll tell you one, so I can call back in the future. But I do have some ghost stories if you want to hear one.
We would love to hear one. Go for it.
All right. Let me tell you the one about, we went to Charleston, South Carolina, when I got engaged to my wife, and visited the Charleston prison, which, if you've never been, it's very bizarre because it's a prison in the middle of a neighborhood. And we went there, and you can, do one of them overnight ghost hunts where you show up at like 10 at night and you go till 5, 6 in the morning or whatever. So me and my wife go there, and they're given the tour. They take you to each room, and they're telling you about all the weird things that happen in these rooms, and then what those rooms were when it was an operating prison. And we're in this one room, and she's talking about this ghost in this room who likes to grab people's ankles. And as she's saying that, my wife starts slapping at her ankles. And she's not a person who buys into any of this crap. But it freaked her out so bad, she quit the rest of the ghost hunt and just sat out the rest of the night. Yeah.
That's crazy. Did she describe anything else, like the feeling, or sometimes the temperature changes with these types of stories?
Yeah, she just said she felt like someone was tickling her ankles.
Oh, that's crazy. That's I don't like that stuff. I think those old prisons are messed up.
Yeah, and the more we get into go to church and get into our Bibles and stuff, we realize we probably shouldn't be messing with this kind of stuff. But I mean, just like some of the history of these buildings that you go to, these groups that hold these ghost hunts are just some of it's just really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love history and I love that stuff, and there's some crazy places to visit, but you got to be extra protected. With Christ as your shield going into those places.
Did anybody speculate the possibility of there being a ghost cat that was wandering around and rubbing up lovingly on the ankles of your wife?
Always a possibility.
It's a lovingly scratch your ankles. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been in one of those types of places in a while. I used to visit those things and do those like I don't know what they call them, urban exploration stuff. And I always wonder about like if I'm projecting these feelings onto these places and then it's making me have these experiences, or if they are messed up. And I do think places like those prisons, places like battlefields absorb some horrible energy, and it reminded me, this conversation reminded me of, I was in Georgia once doing this story and came across this like coven of witches. Like they were legit witches. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to follow this story. And I remember they were just kind of ran the town. They ran this weird old hotel that was built on top of an old graveyard. I just kept running into witches, but some of them were legitimately performing black magic, and they would go out to this battlefield in Georgia, and it was one of the bloodiest battlefields of the Revolution, and would do these like blood rituals with their crystals. I think it was crystals, and it would be on a full moon. It sounds very theatrical, and it is, but they were, they very much believed in this stuff. Very dark, very sinister. And some of them, they were not too fond of me after a while. They had crazy lives. And, but I was interested in why this, because the town is very Baptist. So it was like this very devout religious community, and it was kind of infiltrated by witches. And some of those witches even said that they believed they could be Christian and witches, which even then, this is when I was just like dipping my toes into being religious. Even then I was like, that doesn't sound about right.
Critches.
Critches. Yeah.
I call them critches.
Yo, it was, I was like, I don't think you should do that. I don't think that's appropriate. I have read the Bible. At that point, I knew the Bible well enough to know that is explicitly said to don't do that. But man, I appreciate the phone call and the ghost story. Please do call back with more ghost stories, and God bless you and your family.
I appreciate you guys.
Hope you get some sleep.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Bye.
Awesome. All right. Who do we got next?
Monica up next.
All right.
I believe in line.
Matter of fact said crystal meth heads. You know what? Some of them might have been. They had crazy like communities, like online communities, these witches, and I would go and watch them talk, where they were literally trying to perform hexes to take people's lives. It was crazy. And some of it led to a little bit of a little death threat that me and my friend got. That's in the second Inverted World book. I mean, I'll tell you now. One of the witches' boyfriends, one of the witches went kind of crazy, and then one of the witches' boyfriends threatened to cut our skin off, and it was crazy. He had a great accent, and he said he was going to hang us like a dog. But shout out to Georgia. The greatest, this family, the Brantleys were great to me. And So my earliest and very serious conversations about Christianity happened with Mr. Brantley on his porch as the sun was rising on his like old family farm, where some of the battles took place in the background of the Civil War, and it was amazing. He was preaching to me, and I was very, very open to it at that point, but still stubborn. But there are also witches everywhere. Who do we got? We got Monica in here.
She should be on her way.
Monica. Yeah, I have so many robot stories. We'll have to get into that tomorrow. The robots are taking over. The robots had a big weekend, dude. They got humanoid robots. We got Anduril AI helmets for war. All these videos that may or may not be real of robots doing their laundry, doing your laundry. Obviously not their laundry. They're naked. They shouldn't be naked.
Monica, your mic is a ghost as well. I don't see it, but I know it's there. There, wait.
You guys letting you guys getting robots for your house? You guys getting robots to do your laundry?
Yeah, the only robot I want doing my laundry is my washing machine.
Hello?
I thought you were gonna say your wife.
Monica, what's up? I am not married.
Your robot
I
wife.
don't know. Everything is really low for me. I can't hear you.
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear us?
Okay, I'll be quick. I'll be real quick because I can't hear you very well. So my phone's a piece of crap. Thank you, China. But I do want to say, to Renee, I don't think that she is being haunted, or I don't think that she's got some sort of spirits coming to bother her and her baby. I think that she actually is possessed, and I think that she needs to seek out, some sort of a priest or something, exorcist, to get her help. Because Renee, if you're listening, I think that you're the one who's possessed. I think you have an attachment, and I think you're bringing your attachment, your possession, onto people close to you.
What do you mean by possessed? Let's put that, and then describe attachment. Like, are you saying you think if she can hear? She can't hear me.
I'm not even sure she can hear us.
Can you hear us, Monica? Of course.
I can really hardly hear you.
Can you hear us now? All right.
I can hear you, but I have to turn my the laptop up.
When you say, if you can hear me, when you say you believe she's possessed, what is making you say that?
No. Turn my the laptop.
We might have to.
Yeah, I don't want to like have the interference between the laptop and my phone, but I really can't. I can't hear you on my device.
Okay. Well, we will try to get you back in, and because you know, we want to hear more about that and why you think that. So, but I don't know if I believe that. But I also, I mean, I've known people who operate totally normally, and then they did go get exorcisms, and then they do feel different. And I do think evil does hide in a lot of people. Well, I think we're all born evil, sinners, and that we have that inclination in us. But I'm not so sure about that just because of the daughter, but it's not something to not consider, Renee. I mean, that's a tough thing to even consider. And
Well, there were other people that were saying that they thought the attachment was on the daughter and not Renee.
Right. And that's why I'm trying to get her to talk to all these different type of people that know more than I do, because I do think something's going on. I don't know what, but whatever it is, Renee, when you called in that one time, you were obviously something was extremely bothering you. And we want you to get help, whether it's something in the house, whether it's something with you, your daughter. I think everyone can say that there's something going on. And, the priest, I wish took it a little more seriously. I was worried about someone coming in just doing like a routine thing. I do think it's a good start, But like Ryan Creasos was saying, and like I've been saying, this is a process, and it's not going to be overnight situation, especially for something that's been going on this long. You know, Renee told us about how she grew up, where she grew up, in like a home. I believe, I don't want to put words in her mouth. I forget exactly what kind, but I'm only saying that because, you know, my wife grew up in a crazy orphanage, and so I know all these people from that world, and there's something to be said about that situation. And I don't know what Renee's was like, but you know, and my wife had a tough time growing up, but she's always been Christian, you know, way longer than me. So she's had that. However, there's been a lot of people who I know from that environment who have not been so lucky, and they've tried to lead normal lives, but the darkness is just attached to them. And it's a tough conversation to have. And some of them are actually Christian or Orthodox, and it's a tough thing to consider, it being you. But sometimes it is us. Sometimes it is something that's with us. Sometimes it's someone around us. But I'm only bringing that up to just say that I sort of know that situation and can think about it in terms of like where my wife grew up. It was from like my area, you know, like I've known my wife since high school. So I know that location extremely well. I know a lot of things that have happened there. There's a lot of evil there. And I think kids, when they're not in their home, and obviously it happens when they're home as well, because there's horrible parents. So I'm not just saying it only happens this way, but I know about this type of situation as well. And when kids are on their own, not with good parents, not with good surroundings, not with good role models, not with good examples, that's a prime time for evil to sneak in. And it's something I think about a lot. You know, all these people I know from this one place, it's insane to think how many people have not had a good life and the things they came from. You know, it's probably a little different than what Renee went through. And Renee, when you call back, we can, if you want, you can talk about that as well. So I do think it's important, how we grew up, obviously, where we grew up, what happens. And this is a conversation my wife and I have a lot in terms of a location and the people at this location. And a lot, since this was an orphanage, a lot of the people who came there were children who were 1, 2, 3, 4, and their mother, father were like murder suicide, or they were just abandoned, you know, horrible stories. And I went to high school with a lot of those kids as well. It's brutal. But I don't think that stuff just leaves us. It's very, very hard to come to terms with that stuff. And Renee, I'm not saying that's your case at all. And again, I don't know exactly what your situation was growing up, but I believe you said something similar. And I think I even brought this up when you told me the first time on air. But I think about it all the time because I've just seen it with my own 2 eyes what a place like an orphanage can do. It shouldn't be that way, but my goodness, it is. You know, there was a story of these children. This is totally different, and we'll get to a caller in a second, but I'm just going to say it now before I forget. There's a story about these children who were all held hostage by their parents. So now we have an example of obviously bad parents. I mean, when I say held hostage, the father locked them in the basement of the house for years. You might have seen this story on ABC News, like 5 or 6 years ago. He actually worked for Lockheed Martin, and it actually started here in West Virginia, and then he moved, I think, to Texas. But he kept his family locked in the basement, and eventually they got out. There's a lot of kids. One of them got out because she got a cell phone somehow from her brother, who got one, and went on YouTube, started going on to like Justin Bieber videos, I think, and then people in the chat can save lives. First of all, people in the chat were like, "Wow, you type really weird," and so she kind of had this community going on. And then over time, they were like, she was kind of telling her life story through the chat. So the story goes, and they're like, yeah, that's weird. So she broke out, and like she never really been outside. She was I think one of the younger ones, and she didn't know how to like say things properly. And you can hear audio of the 911 call when she's trying to get help after being convinced you're in a bad situation. But anyway, I'm just saying this, like, okay, that's an example of a horrible family situation. And then when I'm talking about orphanages and, kind of state-run childcare facilities, these poor kids were freed from hell and then were put into child protective services where they were then also abused. I mean, it's insane. And we know we talk about Epstein a lot. We talk about all the human trafficking, child trafficking. all the kids who went missing over the border, you know, they say 300,000. That's probably a conservative number. Children and innocents are always under attack. So unfortunately, this is nothing unique. I just think people don't want to talk about it. You know, I wrote the story with Alex Rosen, who was on IRL last week when we went out to Ohio and, you know, caught some pedophiles. It's happening at every institution, at every level. It's so disgusting and depraved. And so I'm just saying all that because I'm thinking of children, what happens in your childhood, and there's darkness everywhere. And that darkness, even if it's not like one of these direct sort of crimes, that darkness finds a way to you. So it's incredibly, incredibly sad. And I want to fix that. I wish it would end. But I also know this is unfortunately like a really ancient evil that like this is only something that like capital G good God can end. We can do our best. And, you know, I talk a lot of smack on Kash Patel's Wild Eyes, but I will say that they have captured some pretty bad people. And, you know, that's amazing. Hopefully more of that. But these people operate at every level of every institution, and we need to root them out and remove them from society because they're disgusting and they're depraved and they're demons. I don't know how I got there. Talking about orphanages and what happens to children. But children are under attack always. And everyone needs to know that. I know you guys know that. That was my rant. Somehow I got there from that last story with possession. But Renee, if you're listening, we are all praying. And we're taking it seriously. And I'm seeing the chat. People want to help. And I hope the person I sent you does help. I think that will be the person that will help the most. Just because I've seen the work they do. But we're not done. We are not done. We will rid you of this evil. We can do it. We know we can. Oh, goodness gracious. Anita says Christ is Lord. That's right. That is right. Well, Brandon, who do we have next?
Let me see. Let me look at this list one more time. I was trying to cross-reference, as they like to say in the movies, with my little list over here to see if I got anybody in here that I missed last week. Right now, the only person I see here is Candy.
All right, let's do it. While you do that, I'm just going to say a few things. Matter of facts, we are all MK Ultra, LOL, sadly. I don't know if that's in reference to another comment, but I was thinking about that today, probably because I saw Top Lobster talking about MK Ultra, and I was thinking about how MK Ultra has evolved into something so insane that we're all MK Ultraing ourselves. That's why we have to be so cautious with everything we see online. We were talking about this on IRL, about like AI videos and just any video, deceptively edited videos. And it's all a war on your perception of reality. And it's like the completion of MK Ultra is just making ourselves do it to ourselves. So we're going to buy into the reality because we're buying into our confirmation biases. So, oh, wow, this person did that. I hate that person. I believe this video now, but the video might be fake. So we're all just kind of like creating our own realities thanks to these algorithms, which are totally bogus. You know, if any of you guys are as terminally on Twitter as I am, you might notice that the algorithm has changed. We're seeing a lot of different stuff now. That stuff should concern you. You know, Elon, not the biggest fan. And I do think it's a little better now, Twitter, but it's the way the algorithm can be tweaked and certain voices can be suppressed and certain accounts can be boosted. Big problem. And we just saw Netanyahu a week or two ago talk about how the social media platforms, that's part of the warfare. He talked about TikTok. Rex Jones talked about TikTok earlier with Larry Ellison, and he's going to run TikTok now. And we know what Larry Ellison is, a very proud Zionist. And so a lot of these algorithms are going to be tweaked to a certain, position now. That's not good. So we have to be very, very aware of all this stuff because they're trying to capture your brains, and we can't let them have that. That is the final frontier, is your brain. They want to own it.
You good? I just wanted to let you run for a minute.
I was almost threw my coffee out the window. I'm just like, it's Monday, and I'm already like just getting upset about these people. People are saying they ditched Facebook. Man, I was kicked off Facebook years ago. Have not been on it so long. I see people having fun on Facebook these days. I don't miss it though. Facebook is crazy.
You don't mean that. And when I
don't.
say you don't mean that, you don't see people having fun on Facebook nowadays.
No,
that's
what I-
that's
what I
what
mean-
you don't mean.
What I mean is by having fun is they are trolling, like they're maximum trolling on Facebook, and those conversations, the screenshots I'm seeing are hilarious, but I don't miss that place. They're all bad.
All right. Congrats out to my Chicago Bears. Boom, boom, boom. Who defeated the Commanders by a very
Congrats.
slim margin. Way to go,
Congrats.
boys. Let's get Candy in here.
Let's do it.
We're already burning through. 20 minutes left.
All right. Well, I got some robot stories.
Candy, are you there?
Robot stories.
What's up, guys?
What's up,
All
Candy?
right, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again.
Of course. What's going on?
Well, I kind of wanted to bring up because you guys were talking about Francis, right? The last episode.
Yes. Yes.
So it's funny because that's one of my husband's favorite saints because he grew up Catholic.
Okay.
But I wanted to bring up my favorite Saint Christopher story of his, and Saint Christopher is the saint of the traveler.
Okay.
And prior to me meeting him, he had come to Vegas with I think it was his friends, and they were on the strip, and he like went to look for his necklace of St. Christopher, and it was not on his neck, and he looked down like, oh no, I lost it. So he starts to retrace his steps, and where he noticed that he lost it when he grabbed his chest to feel for it, someone got run over, like someone ran over a bunch of people on the strip.
Oh my goodness.
So St. Christopher saved him by falling off of his neck.
Holy crap. That's a crazy story.
It's one of my, like, he has a lot of crazy stories, but that's one of my favorites because I'm like, well, I guess it's true. He really did save you because he was like, I need to fall off right here. So you go back and find him.
Wow. That's wild. My goodness. What happened? Do you know what the story was with the car?
Well, it was prior to they put a bunch of pylons or bollards or whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
They put those in within the last, like, I want to say 15 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
But where they were at walking on the strip, there was nothing there. It was just a curb.
Right.
So I don't remember specifically that person, but it happens a lot where people are either drunk or mad or whatever, and they just hit the curb and like run people over.
Yeah, that's a
But-
dangerous thing.
Yeah,
That's
he
a crazy
happened to,
story.
and when he told me that, I was like, wow, it's a little bit crazy. And that was before I met him too. So
Love that. So why is you said Francis is your favorite?
no, it's his favorite because
Okay,
he's the patron saint of like animals and like the innocent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Is he aware of
Yeah.
this ritual?
I'm not sure. He might be, but we don't. I was raised Lutheran, so I call that like fake
Yeah.
Catholicism. So
Yeah, it's like Catholicism light. Very, very light.
yeah, there's like no confession, no, like you don't have to do anything. Just you have to accept Jesus in your heart, which is fine. But why is it so different?
I mean, I don't know about out by you, but what I've noticed out here is that a lot of the Lutheran churches, for whatever reason, have become some of the more captured ones by leftist ideology.
Yeah.
Because they're saying that, Jesus loves all. Jesus does love all. But they then interpret it to being like, we love you no matter what sin you might do. And then they wind up just draping their churches in crazy flags. I mean, I've seen it. It's in West Virginia. It's obviously in New York. It's a very bizarre thing. But it's not just them. It's like the Episcopalians too. I don't want to leave anyone out. And I'm not saying they're all like that because I know we got some listeners in there who are like, well, I'm Methodist and I'm Lutheran. They're not all like that, but they seem to be the ones that are captured a lot.
Yeah.
Baptists can be too.
Well, my old church was, it was called, I can't remember what the name was, but it's now a Korean church.
Interesting.
Now, how many of these churches out here do you suspect of just doing this for the money?
That's just as
See,
evil then.
These community centers and all of this stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it's obviously for tax purposes. They're not really doing anything.
It seems like some of them are like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like some of them are just because there's some that really think they're doing the right Christian thing, right? They're like, this is how we should interpret the Bible. We got to let all this in. It's like unrepentant sinning. Just we'll totally promote it. It's fine. And there's definitely what you're talking about where they're like, well, let's just be a church and we'll pretend to be this. It's a front, They're all kind of fronts, the ones that are doing this type of stuff. But there are some who are for sure just being like, we're a front. We can make money like this. And honestly, there's also ones that who are not captured ideologically, who are also basically fronts for money. You know, we've talked about a lot of these prosperity preachers, and you know, they seem to do it for the money, which is completely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that's like a hard thing for me and my husband, because again, he was raised extremely like staunch Catholic. And to me, not understanding that as a Lutheran, I'm like, I get it, but I don't. I went to Sunday school, I went to Bible school, I did all that stuff when I was a kid. And the only thing I understood was they always wanted money. I'm like, well, why don't we just read the Bible and leave it at that?
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with the giving money to your church. You know, I don't have a money with doing that, as long as it's going to like the church. You know, I think when you have a pastor who's like, you know, there's pastors out there with private jets and stuff, that gets a little murky. And it's like, why are we doing this? But like, you know, the church I'm going to, it's like, we're just keeping this thing going. You know, we're keeping the machine running. It's going to the church, and you know, I appreciate that. But there's certainly some of them are just like using it as a money-making device.
No, when there's churches that are turning around and reinvesting it in their community and things like that, that's what that's supposed to be for.
Yeah.
Like keeping your church afloat and everything like that. Even them, like I wouldn't even be mad if a church was making a little bit of money, but like, holy shit, like you can't, you know, these like Joel Osteen and all of that with the whole mega complex. It's just like, dude, how much money does that guy have?
Yep.
You know, and I don't know.
And it's like, there's no, like, I think every denomination has some bad in it, you know, in terms of like people who are pretending
Everything's
to be
corrupt, yeah.
Right. And like, I'm not, I used to say, you know, in the old days, I'm against organized religion. I'm not, but I am against the corruption of places that pretend to be organized religion under the guise of whatever it's Catholicism or whether it's baptism or Baptist, Lutherans, whatever. It definitely happens. And no one denomination is safe from that. And, you know, we could point to all different types of crazy stories, you know, even like the Greek Orthodox Church. I remember in New York, they kind of run things. You know, people forget that is a major, the major institution, and they had a lot of corruption. And they also have a lot of infighting on, you know, like the gay marriage stuff, whether they should bless it or not. You know, I don't think that should be a fight. I think that should be pretty clear. But, you know, even something like that, and the Greek Orthodox are pretty serious.
They are.
They're very
There's
serious.
a big Greek Orthodox church out here that does a festival every year.
Yeah, they're tough. You know, I love the Greeks. You know, I'm married to a Greek, so I
I'm
love the
I'm
Greeks.
Greek too.
Oh,
Has your
nice.
wife ever made you pastizio?
No, but she's done spanakopita. I hope I said it right.
I love spanakopita.
Yeah, I say it like a silly Irishman, but I love the Greek food. I love Greek mythology. Greeks are awesome. I'm very happy. My kids have that history to them. But the Greek Orthodox Church is wild. And I'm not saying they're all like that. It's like what I'm saying with different denominations. But in New York, I mean, we had this crazy story about a Greek Orthodox, I guess a father. He got in trouble for, this was like on the New York Post, so people could look this up. He got in trouble for, I think it was like a prostitute, but he was obsessed with, I want to get this right. He was obsessed, this is a weird fetish, but I'm going to say it, obsessed with sitting on cakes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm not saying he was. I think he was.
How
clothed.
the hell is that even a thing?
He was clothed, as far as I can tell. But he got in like obviously some major trouble for this weird thing. I think he was like, he liked them watching him sit on cakes. It was very bizarre. I mean,
it's voyeurism on another level.
People
for sure.
are
Right.
weird. People are weird, and all these institutions, all these denominations have some crazy people in them. You know, and there's always people who pretend to be, you know, or they're sheep in wolf in sheep's clothing. It's wild, but yeah, you should tell your husband about the Francis ritual. Maybe you guys take a trip to, I think it's in Italy, to go see the bones.
Yeah, I told him that. He didn't even know about it. I'm like, did your mom know about it? He's like, no. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. So it'll be February 2026. Wild stuff. But do you have anything you want to add before you go?
I could give you a couple quick ghost stories, and they're really quick.
You should absolutely do that.
So I don't know if you remember, but my husband is a bartender.
Right.
And well, in Vegas, if you think about it, like before we were even here, even the Mormons, before they were here, it was native land. And there's a lot of probably like burial grounds and things like that around that people just kind of like, yep, we didn't see anything, and then just build over. Well, particularly where his bar is. I told you this when my aunt died, that my grandfather came to me and I never met him. He died when my mom was 11. So there have been several incidences in that bar with myself alone and other people that have validated the same type of thing, where you'll just be sitting there and then something will like grab you and there's nothing next to you.
Great.
And the one time my friend and his, or my boyfriend at the time, my husband, and his two friends that were brothers, they were sitting there talking to each other, and the bartender was on the other side of the bar talking to them. And I felt someone grab my like jacket or whatever I was wearing. And I turned around, there was no one there. I'm like, it's a corner. Like I could touch the corner if I like leaned over. Like, all right. And then after that, like maybe a few months later, one of my good friends was sitting next to me, and he's got his right hand up to his mouth smoking a cigarette, and I feel someone grabbing my left arm, and he's sitting next to me, and I just look at him like, what is going on? He looked at me like, what's wrong with you? And I go, nothing. And he goes, no, you got to tell me now. I'm like, all right. So I tell him, and as I'm telling him, he's like, he just wide-eyed open looks at me like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you saw how I acted? And he's like, yep, I saw how you acted. I'm like, but it wasn't you. And he's like, nope, wasn't me. I'm like, all right.
Weird.
So many things like that have happened in that bar.
Yeah, bars.
I think it's on a burial ground.
Yeah, you said. What did you say it was on top of?
A burial ground.
A burial ground. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of stories like that. When I was a lot of the Long Island stories, when I was talking about reporting on serial killers out there and all the weird stuff going on, so many people would be like, "This place is just screwed up because it was built on top of all these burial grounds." And back then I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But there's something wrong with Long Island.
Yeah.
Sorry to all my friends in Long Island. I'm from Long Island, so I was born there. But like something does happen. Like what I was saying earlier with battlefields and prisons. There's some weird dark energy. It absorbs it, and it's got to have some effect on the population.
That was one thing I wanted to bring up too, because you like the whole crystals thing when it involves like witchcraft and like bad stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, that's not good. But when it comes to like gems and stones and stuff, I actually believe that from the earth they have their own power. Like I will carry a piece of selenite in my pocket if I have a stomach ache, and my stomach ache will go away. So stuff like that, like it can affect you. Just like that, though. Like you're saying, like land can harbor. Which it can. It's like stone tape.
Right. Yeah. Stone tape theory.
It's kind of like that, but instead, like the Earth had created that.
Right.
And my husband and I love rocks, but not crystals. You know what I mean? Like, like Cam Patterson. Oh, I like rocks.
Nice. Good. Shout out to Cam Patterson. Somehow on SNL now.
That's weird to me too. I don't know how long he's gonna last because he's pretty vulgar.
Yeah, we'll see how many N-bombs they let him drop. It's crazy. But yeah,
broadcast TV. But
it's so funny. That's a conversation I've had recently with some people, Christians, about rocks and like people who believe in they have powers and stuff. It's funny because like my initial reaction is like, I don't know about that. But I do also think stone tape theory might be a thing because that's kind of like my basis on battlefields and energy. So, maybe they do have things. I like rocks too, though. I just like rocks. I like rocks. I can't help it. They're cool. I used to collect them as a kid, and they are cool. My kids collect them, and they think they have powers. So who knows? But that's good. I'm glad you have some help with a stomach ache with a rock. You said selenite?
I know it sounds so dumb, but selenite. I didn't believe it until I actually like put it in my pocket and wore it for like a couple months. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't complained about that for a long time.
Is this like something you buy off of Etsy?
No.
Okay.
Usually I find it somewhere, like we go to Arizona, there's a place called Quartzite, and they have huge like RV shows and rock shows and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we bought a bunch of like big pieces that were like untouched of like certain things. So like pink tourmaline, like dumb stuff that nobody would even know unless they understand what geology is. But
sick. I love that. Yeah,
they look pretty,
Yeah, no, I know. One of my neighbors, he like went camping somewhere in some crazy mountain near here, and he brought home a rock. And he told me, this was just the other day. He's like, I got a rock while I was camping. I'm like, sick, dude. And then he showed me it was like the kind of rock. It was a boulder. It was actually a boulder. It wasn't a rock. And he had a wheelbarrow, and he had to, his car was like slanted down towards the back. It was in the trunk. I'm like, oh, dude, you got a boulder. Like he really wanted that rock. But yeah, shout out to rocks. Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking, and you know where to find us.
Yep. Thanks again for having me on, guys. I hope you have a good
course.
night.
And you too.
All right.
All right.
JME says, I love stone. But Anthony, you say I like turtles. You like rocks? You collect rocks?
I can tell you what rock I do like.
I thought you were going to pull up Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Oh, sick, dude.
Now, Dwayne's
Nice.
cool too.
Good segue.
So
Good segue.
this was on the docket,
Thank
and we didn't really get to discuss too much tonight with with our guests and call-ins and stuff like that. So we got about 5 minutes left. I figure we roll into this here since we were talking about rocks. The headline here is physicist transforms lead into gold at nearly the speed of light. Now I don't know how they brought AU into something like this, but I can tell you lead into gold. If this is real, this is insanely serious. So Shane pitched me this article, I think it was last week.
Yeah.
This is one of the articles I think we had last week that we didn't get into. Do you want to go through this here? Because
You read it. You go for it, dude.
this is
I'm impressed with that segue. That was a great segue.
this really caught my eye.
This is great producing on the fly, guys. Great transition.
I do
here.
my best, I swear. So think about the implications of this. Gold being at like an all-time high right now and rising. Guy finds a way to take lead and turn it into gold, which is almost isn't that like biblical in some way, shape, or form?
This is alchemy. Matt Valente just said it in the chat as
Yeah.
I was thinking it. This is alchemy.
It is. That's exactly what it is. That's what ties into the law of equivalent exchange and all that stuff, dude.
Yep.
And think about one of the most wealth holding pieces of Earth right now. All of a sudden being worthless overnight because it can be made out of lead.
Great. Now they're going to print this. It's just
Silver
like
becomes the
cash.
new gold.
Yep.
Everything else crashes.
Great.
Fort Knox is worthless.
Always was. There's no gold. in
I guess that
Fort Knox.
wasn't up for discussion, but yeah. So I guess let's read a little bit of this. The heart of the Swiss French border, beneath 100 meters of alpine soil, a long abandoned alchemical. I'm pulling a Shane tonight.
Nice.
Dream has stirred back to life, if only briefly. Researchers at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, we know them well, have succeeded in transforming lead into gold at the Large Hadron Collider, the world's most powerful particle accelerator. So
This is not good. The thing that's creating a portal to hell is now also making gold. Give me a break.
think of how much they'll have to run that thing now. If
Good point.
somebody approaches them and says, "Hey, government, whatever." I don't even know if this is possible, if there's laws against this or regulations against this, but like if they're like, "Hey, we need you to take this massive, 12 truckloads of lead that we have and turn it all into gold and ship it back to us ASAP. You have, here's a contract for it." Like, what then? What if they use funding for that?
You just made me think about, I had to Google how much is the electric bill at CERN. CERN's electricity bill is significant, obviously, with the 2021-2022 report estimating an annual energy procurement cost of approximately 5% of its total budget, which was about 1 billion EU at the time. A 2022 Forbes article put the annual cost of the Large Hadron Collider at 23.5 million. Sorry,
I was going to
million.
say that was 5%.
Yeah.
Dude, comment.
So I wonder if the people around there are somehow having to pay for it, like in the periphery. Like have you seen these articles popping up?
Well, like how our tax dollars go into that. I mean, ours is run by Department of Energy.
Right. And
So-
but people are now seeing their water bills and their electricity bills go up because they're funding
as a result of
data centers.
Yeah,
And like
energy usage.
it might even be affecting us out here because we're so close to data center city. But they're all over the place. I know they're in like Idaho, Utah, Texas. There's big ones that Trump has funded with Project Stargate, and people are now being like, "Why is our stuff going up?" Because you're actually subsidizing the stuff. So I wonder if the people there. I mean, we've had on. Please go look up the episode with Dr. Stuckelberger. She lives above CERN, and she's amazing. She's amazing. She has a lot of. I was gonna say weird. They're not weird. They're very interesting takes on the consequences of CERN on the populace above it. Like cancer, high cancer rates, how it affects certain things like electricity above. So it's an old episode. But look at this. Another wonderful picture from inside the Eye of Sauron.
Now, it's interesting because they give a follow-up here to what we just kind of talked about.
Yep.
And I'll lead with the process doesn't involve cauldrons or cryptic incantations. It hinges on subatomic interactions between high-energy lead ions smashing past one another at nearly the speed of light. So there's where AU comes in. Yep. AU is gold. Speed of light, AU, you know what I'm talking about. Yep. For all its mystique, the conversation is less about creating riches and more about unlocking the fundamental forces that govern matter. The Alice collaboration, one of 4 major experiments at CERN, captured the rare nuclear ballet that briefly formed atoms of gold out of lead before they vanished within a microsecond.
Great.
So
vanishing gold. They got to make it not vanish.
Somebody creating gold and then gold vanishing. It's not an original story.
So that's what happened at Fort Knox. Why didn't they live stream Fort Knox, Elon? What happened to that live stream, Elon? We were going to see the gold in Fort Knox. It's because it's not there.
Yeah. There's 4 hours of footage that cuts off at midnight and starts back again at 4 a.m. and we're just not allowed to show
that's good.
What happens in there.
The gold did not Epstein itself.
No. No.
Oh,
maybe
goodness.
Hill Dog has it. I blame her for everything.
Hill Dog. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. We're back at it. It's Monday. I see you guys. Yeah, tag Elon on Twitter. Tell him what happened to that live stream, pal. What happened with the live stream of Fort Knox? It was big news. That never happened. We saw that weird bunker where all the retirement papers go, which was definitely an issue. But I'm worried about the gold. I don't want to rely on CERN gold. Okay, all right. You hear me, Brandon? Where can they find you?
As always, you guys can find me at Brando Inverted on Insta and X. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. Thanks to Rex Jones for coming on the show tonight. Thanks to Renee for giving us an update on all the crazy shit going on in her house. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow, 10 o'clock, where we are going to pick this right back up where we left off and get into more things strange after all the monkeys have been burned for Tuesday. Shane, get us out of here.
And David Flora, thanks again for that. Rumble Rant, you said, why do we have American orphans while Americans adopted foreign children? It's bizarre. A lot of those adopted children were, a lot of them, I know a lot of people in the church where I go that adopted children in need, but they also had their own kids and adopted kids from here. But I was immediately going to say that Hollywood turned adopting kids into like the new handbag, which is an issue. But we have homeless vets on the streets, fentanyl issue, and children being trafficked. One child trafficked is way too much, and we have way too many. So yeah, it's a huge issue, and I hope for all the faults of the FBI that they can at least start saving some kids. And it sounds like they actually have saved some. So I will champion that success. But again, guys, thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure talking to you all. Thanks again to Rex. That was amazing. Great time having him on. I hope to have him back. Honor having him on the show. And I hope you all have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.